Hello everyone, this is Matt Hoots and I'm about to go into the Home Depot and get a couple lead test kits before we do any renovation on a house that is built before 1978. We make sure that we test for lead paint because this is very harmful for kids, and especially if we're working in a house where it's occupied, we definitely want to make sure that we are protecting not only the children and our clients, and also make sure that the workers aren't taking any of this lead dust back to their homes and their families. Right behind me, you can see some of this paint is failing and coming off. So we're actually to do this lead test on the outside of the house. It's not going to be as difficult as it is on the inside, unless we can find some peeling paint on the inside. And I think there are a few spots. But what you want to do is be able to test all of the different layers of the paint. So when they've like the top layer probably doesn't have lead paint in it, but some of the bottom layers may have lead paint in it. And so what we want to do is basically expose those sides. And in this case, since the paint is already peeling off, we're not going to cut into the paint to expose it because it's already exposed. But on the inside, we're going to expose all the layers by just making a slight, small groove in it and making sure that we collect any dust that comes off as a result of that. So I've got this kit right here. We bought it at Home Depot earlier. I actually bought multiples of these kits. Main reason is we're going to be doing lots of tests in this house. We're going to test the inside, the outside. They've also done multiple renovations in here, so some parts of the house may not have lead. Some of the newer parts that have been renovated, while some of the older parts probably do have lead. So I've got this 3M lead check kit. It has chemicals in here, and basically you want the chemicals to come to this tip by squeezing it. So the first thing you have to do is break up the chemicals on the inside, mix them up really well. I usually shake it for a little bit so they can mix together. And what happens is the chemical is going to come out yellow. And this is the DIY test kit. There are professional kits available, but you want to squeeze it out until there's just a little bit. See that, the yellow on there? So what we're going to do is find a spot, and again, we're going to the exposed areas. Or we're looking at the sides and trying to get the sides of the paint. Looks like this was probably stained at one time or is stripped off, but so far looks like all this is still yellow, so we don't have to worry. Now if there was lead paint present, this would be pink. So it looks like on the outside we're safe to go ahead and take this off. I'm gonna go and test a few other spots on the house just to make sure. So even though the first test came back negative on the siding, and it probably came back negative because it looks like they've sandblasted the siding over the years, so whoever had the pleasure of doing that basically had to deal with the lead, so it's probably all in the soil and contaminated by now. Well, let's go ahead and check the windows. It doesn't look like they've sandblasted the windows. And what I like to do is put a piece of tape underneath the area that we're going to test. The reason is like if we disturb any of this paint, it falls down, it hits the sticky side of this tape, and that way we don't have to worry about it. So what we have to do is make a small cut. Again, remember, we're trying to expose multiple pieces of multiple layers of this paint all the way down to the wood. Looks like there are some good layers, and what we're doing is just cutting at a slight angle, and you can see how this paint is hitting the tape, so we're safe now. There's lots of it. Basically want to cut until you find wood. Alright, so I see the wood there. Lots of layers. Kind of expecting this one to come back positive. Now these test kits only have 2 in them, so make sure you pick your locations well. And you know, they're not super expensive, especially if you're worried about saving you know, someone's life or affecting someone's health. About $10 a pop. Now you can buy these in bulk, and probably should do that for the next one, because we are working on a lot of old houses this year, houses that are built before 1978. All right, so we've got the yellow coming through the tip again. Let's go ahead and do this test. So basically we've exposed all the different layers of paint there. And It's hard to tell, but I think it's still coming back negative. But let me try to get in that groove a little bit more. So this one looks like it might have a little bit of red in it. I can't tell if that's just maybe something that came off of the house. So I'm going to compare this to the original sample, the one that we definitely know is negative, to see what the difference is. So here's the original one. There's some of the, basically it was yellow and picked up a lot of the residue. And here is the one with, it looks like there's a little bit of pink in it. So we're going to still, around the windows, because there's probably lead on the inside of the windows as well, be very careful. We're going to go through all of the RRP measures for dealing with the windows when we're doing the demolition. So probably have a separate contractor come in and deal with the demolition for this, instead of having my framers just go through and tear everything out. So again, those are the comparisons of the two. This one does look like it's slightly pinkish. I'll probably do a few more tests just to be safe, and I might even have like a third party come out with a better testing kit than this, just in case I'm getting a false positive. And again, the siding is good to go, and that's mainly because they've sandblasted it years ago. So we've tested the outside of the house, and we think there might be slight traces of lead on the outside of these windows. I'm gonna go and test the inside of the windows, and on this sample, I don't have to cut the paint back because it's already peeling. And I can see multiple layers exposed all the way down to the wood. What I forgot to talk about on the outside when we're doing the test. So for this particular kit, you've got a test confirmation card. And so with this card, what you do is when you break this, I'm gonna go ahead and break this, shake it up, get it mixed up. And what you want to do is get that dot that comes out, that yellow dot, and test it on the card. Now the card does have a slight amount of lead in it, and that's just to show that the kit is actually able to test the lead and to show that it works. So let's go ahead and get that dot. Now you don't want to rub the swab on it. And the reason you don't want to rub the swab on it is if you do that, we're going to let this set for a little bit. If you rub the swab on the card, then you've contaminated this. So you're just basically just dropping the dot onto the card, and we'll come back in a second and take a look at the results for this. All right, so we've got some exposed lead over here. So I'm going to take, I can see where I've got multiple layers right there all the way down to the paint. So that's where we're going to do our test, see how it works. And it's really hard to tell that the challenge here, there's so much dirt on this actual sample. But I can't tell if there's lead in there or not. Plus, I see a layer of red paint, so we could be rubbing off some of that red paint. So far I don't see any pink on here. The sample though is pink, so we do know that the test kit is working. So you can see the sample does have that pink dot, and that's indicating that this is properly reacting with lead to create that pink hue, so we can know. But so far, all I'm seeing is dirt, and I'm seeing yellow. I don't see any pink in this. So I'm gonna do another test on the outside because I'm thinking there might just be a layer of red paint, and see if we can find any lead in here. So far, it looks like we are coming back negative. Okay, so I don't believe that there actually is lead paint on this one, on the inside. However, I am looking at the outside test kit. Because there is lead paint on the outside, we have to take proper measures to make sure that we are dealing with the lead paint for this whole window as we're doing the demolition. The next thing we're going to test on the inside is the trim and see if there's any lead paint on this. And again, so far, now a lot of these older houses, what they did is they stained the windows and they painted them later. So if they painted them after they had the layers of stain on it, if they painted them after 1978, and the stain did not have lead in it, you might be safe. Now, since the test came back positive, we're going to make sure that we hire a professional contractor that deals with lead remediation. They also deal with the asbestos remediation. That way we can take care of all of the toxins in the environment. That way other crews that come in to do work later aren't exposed to these. Now we're going to make sure we seal off the house, do testing before and after to make sure we got rid of all the lead and the asbestos in the house.